begin.
Good evening. I better introduce myself because I'm sure none of you know. You're wondering what this old bloke is doing standing up by a microphone. My name's David Greene. I'm here, and I mostly don't know who I am, but tonight I know that I am actually part of an AA research project called AA Lawn, and we were invited to help coordinate the book launch that we're engaged in tonight for Will McLean. It's a strange coincidence. I've always loved the idea of the lawn, being a suburban boy brought up with the clatter of lawnmowers. And so in a funny sort of way, I've always seen the lawn as one of the kind of a high point of, you probably think this is a bit strange, I don't know, a sort of high point of man's culture, this sort of the total taming of grass into some beautiful, beautiful flat surface, which is endlessly sort of tamed. Anyway, we're here to launch Lawnmower in the Attic, Bruce's recent book. As you know, the books are for sale at the side, and we hope you'll buy some. And I'd intended for Bernard Tschumi to make a little film. He promised that he would. And in case you don't know, the reason that is of importance in this respect is that Bruce is the only holder of an honorary AA diploma who isn't an architect. And it was Bernard Tschumi who initiated this this gift, if you like. But however, he gave Bruce a tube with the diploma in, but there was an invisible invisible diploma inside. In fact, there was...
That's the second one I've had this year.
Yes, well, you're lucky, Bruce, because I do actually have another tube here. It's not with a kind of diploma in, not the official AA diploma, but we'll give that to you at the end. Okay, so we look forward to your lawn, mowing the lawn in front of us. Thanks.
Thank you very much, David Greene, Professor David Greene. I've prepared a few questions.
Have you really?
I'm actually related to Bruce. No, the first one's a bit odd. I don't know why I started with that. No, it's all right. No, it's a bit personal. Say that one. Why did you decide to write this book and not a book on sculpture, for instance?
I'm writing a book on sculpture next. But I decided to write this book because I got bored with art, basically. And when I first started being a sculptor, I wrote a book in 1969. And I abandoned art. I didn't abandon sculpture, but I abandoned art. But funnily enough, I think this book might well be art.
Thank you. Which leads me on to my second question. This is seamless. I've got hundreds of questions. Don't get me started, mate. Right. We haven't spoken to each other for 5 years, so this is a sort of truth and reconciliation.
Yeah, we don't really. We don't get on.
Is this book? Is this book, to use your language, parlance? Is this book a work? Is this book a work of art, or even a piece? This is an artistic term for you that haven't.
Piece.
Piece.
It could be a piece. It is. No, I think I'm trying to make sculpture because I am a sculptor, and all these things relate to what I was doing with sculpture, from the sliced loaf at the end here. If I could just draw your attention to that sliced white loaf. Can we focus in on the white sliced loaf? This is a I'm a sculptor, and I became a sculptor because my grandfather used to model with this stuff here. You get a bit of bread like this, and you chew it for some time, and then you split it into a bucket, and you would model with it. It's very good modeling material. I know that Gary would be pleased to hear about this, but it's very good stuff. And he modeled on the front of a piano 2 cherubs, which held candles. Don't know how he did that. Oh God, this bread's terrible. But that's what he did. So it's here for a reason. It's a sculptural material. This.
What did he do with the piano afterwards? After that, or maybe you can't tell anyone about that. This is a shameful family history.
He played the piano, but it was completely untuned, and he couldn't hear, and he couldn't play the piano. Did that for some time, and I thought it was quite funny. But I think the modelling of the cherubs to hold the candles, to me, was like unbelievable. And I think that's probably why I became a sculptor. Am I boring you already?
No, it's all right. So could you tell us why there's a lawnmower on the table?
Well, can we focus on the lawnmower? This is a Qualcast Panther, 1943. Bought in Starbridge recently. This is the same lawnmower that my father, who is an eminent Glasgow architect, used to use to cut 3 lawns or 4 lawns in his garden. Well, they were pieces of grass, they're hardly lawns, but he used them. But he used to keep it in the loft. He was 18 stone, quite big, and fat, and not very, I wouldn't say a strong man, but he used to lift this twice a week from the loft in the summer to the grass and then put it back again. Basically, he's the son of the man who chewed the bread up, and my grandfather. And I just think this, when you're a child, you think you were just like ordinary, like everybody else. But I suddenly began to realise quite recently I was quite actually extraordinary and lived in a very extraordinary situation. My mother had a beehive haircut that high, sprayed. It's, very odd. But that's why the lawnmower's here, just to remind ourselves. But I cannot lift that lawnmower, hardly lift the lawnmower. I don't know how he got it up and down the loft, into the loft, up a Slingsby ladder. It wasn't a staircase, or a standard staircase, it was just a ladder. Very strange man.
Yeah, well, talking about your father, my grandfather, as was, why wouldn't your father let you be an architect?
Because he said I was too small.
Okay, next question. This is going to go quickly, isn't it? Right.
Please, can I become an architect? No, you're too small. Go away, play with your train.
Is that something to do with your father, that?
Oh,
he did some work for the Royal Bank of Scotland, I believe.
This here is a logo. And my father was an architect, and one of the worst jobs he ever did, he thought, was to rebuild.
According to the heritage people, vandalise is the word they use.
Yeah, he vandalised this bank in Scotland, the biggest Royal Bank in Glasgow, where he had to retain the outside walls with steels while they did the interior. But it took about a while to do it, and he got quite angry doing it. Anyway, he finished it. He came in one night to our house and he said, well, that's that. The bank's finished. But somebody, I don't know who, has stuck a flying arsehole all over the front of the bank. So I thought, goodness gracious me, so it is. So he was quite annoyed about it, so that's why that's here. I have another photographic reference. If anybody can guess what this is, they can have it signed. It's Michelangelo's David's Nose. Are you familiar with this work? Obviously not, no.
What, is that relevant to it?
Yeah.
Is that relates to your father again? Up Glasgow School of Art?
No, I went to Glasgow School of Art because I was an avant-garde artist in 1960. I had a berry, or an oilskin hat back to the front, smoked a cherrywood pipe upside down, and wore a duffel coat back to front, and had a pair of Gobi boots, and went to art school. And I went there day 1, day 2, day 3. I came back on day 4, covered in clay. My father said, "Oh, here's the avant-garde artist back from his toils in the art school. Here he is, look at him, here he is." He said, "I know what you've been doing today. You've been modelling Michelangelo's David's ear, mouth or nose." I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "Well, that's what I did 40 years before." I said, "I should leave immediately," he said. Go to Germany, get out of there." So it's quite an important thing, this, to me. There's a story about that in all these things relate to stories in the book. They're just kind of clues. But I think that, to answer your question to begin with, I think that the book, because if you do one thing, if you're cutting the grass, to cut the grass, to make it look smart, presumably, you might be making a sculpture. You might not realise you're making a sculpture, or you might be painting a picture with a lawnmower. I actually did bore a white liner once before and did a white line down a wobbly white line down the grass. That's quite funny. My mother didn't think it was very funny, but he thought it was quite funny.
To amuse himself.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I've got a few more. I've got a couple more. Yes, I've got a few more. Yeah.
I like the introduction you wrote for the book, the front of the book. I think it's the best bit of the book.
Well, I'd like to
be honest
think
with
so myself. Yeah, technically, it's a blurb. I think that's
the blurb is actually you just cut the blurb out and get rid of the book. I just buy the blurb. I would.
It's on the inside. It's on the inside cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
The German artist. I think he's an artist. I think he's German, but Vostell, sorry.
Yeah.
He said everything is architecture.
Did he really?
Apparently. Yeah, he did, yeah.
Do you remember seeing him in Berlin?
Nope.
Wolf Vostell was a big German artist, did quite interesting stuff. But he was slightly knocked off his perch by Joseph Beuys. And Joseph Beuys had a felt hat, bit of grease, bottle of Guinness, bit of tobacco, beautiful white shirts, handmade white shirts. Wouldn't tell anyone where he got them from. It looked a bit kind of avant-garde. But Wolf was, and he apparently had a Rolls Royce called a Rolls Royce painted white with a big stamp on it, but nobody ever saw that. But Wolf Vostell used to park his black Cadillac with white wall tires outside the Kunsthaus Britannien, and he had a big black cloak on, and wait for it, a white mink hat with ermine. Or was a black mink with, was the one with a black, white with a black, and a big silver top cane, and the kids used to kick his car, and I thought, wrong car, wrong hat. And that's what he was a failure. Have you anybody heard of Wolf Vostell? I'll give him a £5 note. Hands up. Nobody.
That took some digging, I tell you.
Did you not remember that?
No, I don't think that was him.
That was Wolf Vostell. Any other lies you want me to tell you?
No, I could think of something else. It was some food related. Where's my food related question? Let's have a look.
Food related?
Yeah, I did, yeah. Where was it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. It's all so polite, isn't it?
Here we go.
Marvellous, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
The book features many references to food and drink. Some good and some bad. Food and drink, that is. Good and bad service, too many drinks, and resultant catastrophes. Why? And was all this eating and drinking required to be an artist? And I'm sorry, this is a leading question. I was told by my son Bert, you shouldn't ask questions where you kind of know whatever. But
you can't ask questions what?
You shouldn't ask questions when you're sort of feeding the answer. So I don't. Or feeding, good pun. But.
Feeding, yeah, no pun intended. I get that. It's getting better. Go on.
Okay, so yeah, whatever. Why? What's the food? Why? There's so much food and drink in the book. Is that all to do with? Is it?
Well, all the stories are supposed to be slightly funny, and all these funny stories seem to be around food and drink. This isn't very funny. This story. This is actually. God, this is a bit of clay soil from outside of Glasgow. This is the heel print of Rudolf Hess. He landed in 1944 in just outside Eaglesham. My father used to take me to show me his footprint where he landed, and there we have it. I think it's a fantastic find to actually have this. About 100 years old. There it is.
Well, maybe
that's nothing to do with food.
Can you talk about the soup, perhaps?
This?
Yeah.
Oh, this is a piece of carrot on a string. If you go to some very posh restaurants now, let me tell you, they're all doing it. You get a bowl of hot water and you do this. and it makes you look a little bit coloured. No, I was in a restaurant once, I think maybe Mel Gooding was with me. There was another episode about Mel, I won't tell you now, but when the restaurant, when the soup came, Christmas lunch, got turkey broth. It was completely clear soup. So my father said to the waitress, "Oh, what if you mind asking the chef to come out here with a carrot on a string and drag it through the soup and try to cheer it up a bit?" That didn't go down that well. And then when Mel asked for the milk, that was the end of that. Boom, boom. No, but there's a reason for the food, is because everything seems to be amusing around food. Like the pork pie. But this is, I couldn't get one. This is a pork pie. But I used to live on what was called a rattler. And a rattler was when the meat had come away from the jelly and you could rattle. And this woman in a pub felt sorry for her and she rattled. Oh, when she found a rattler, she gave it to me for nothing, which kept me alive for about a year. Nearly killed me. Nearly killed me, but it kept me alive at the same time. Got a spot after that.
Okay, well, look, we're nearly done. It's just like sort of grueling, isn't it? Okay, here's a couple of stupid things, right?
The reason that Will's asking me questions is I've just done 2 recent PC works where I interviewed myself, and I found myself arguing with myself and getting a bit annoyed, and I actually smacked myself once, and then I had to leave, and then I had to come back again. But I didn't want to do that again, so I thought, as you had written the good introduction, yes. I thought it'd be good if you would, and keeps it going, and maybe Bert could join us later on.
Okay. Well, yeah, that leads nicely onto my next. It's not. This is. I don't know whether this is relevant. People think that it's quite odd that I refer to my parents by your names. It's Bruce and Rosie.
Why would you?
And not Mum, Dad, Daddles, Mummy, Pops. Old man. But I believe you refer to your parents by their names. What's that all about?
Peter. Well, I said to my father, why did I call you Peter and Betty? I thought that's our names. Who's Daddy and Mummy and Daddles and Doddles and old man? Couldn't stand it. And it made it kind of evened everything out. It wasn't that they went higher up or lower up. And I think everything's got to be in the same level. Not kind of I'm just. No, there's a kind of, it evens things out a bit, I think. But I didn't think it was odd. That was the name, People call me Bruce, it's quite good. People call me other things, but I don't like that so much. But Bruce I prefer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Or William?
William, yes.
William.
Never been built, but thank you.
It could be.
Okay, I've got a bit of a bad art show type question. In view of this book of stories, which is a book of stories, is that correct? Yeah. This is a really horrible question. This are artists storytellers? Ooh.
Artist storyteller? Oh dear me, no, I don't think so. That sounded. Oh no, dear.
No, but to what extent does any of this mean? Is it anything to do with the activity of what you're interested in?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or is it the activity you're interested in?
It is the activity.
It's all the activity.
If you think of the work I made about quiche on the knee and hit by the brie and a spag bol and all sorts of other things, it's just the same. I mean, I think that, yeah, it is the same. I think this table of stuff is probably the best sculpture I've ever made. Because I wasn't trying to make a sculpture, I was just trying to demonstrate using, Eddie Farrell suggested I use some...
There's no point hiding, Eddie, when you see it.
Suggested I use some stuff to perhaps make this evening a bit more interesting visually. So I got some things, I brought some things on about a tape measure along, a pork pie, Rudolf Hess's footprint. Oh God, this is a sieve. For sieving relates to a story about sewage working, and this is lentils, spilt lentils, and this relates to a story. It's not a story, but my father was an architect, and he lived in this house designed by architects, not him. And he said he thought we better live in places that were designed by people like him, but not him. And every time we had a meal in this dreadfully small kitchen or dining room, I suppose. he would say, can you see if there's any salt and pepper in the cupboard? Open the cupboard and his bloody lentils would spill out every bloody time. So the Hoover had to be brought out before you could have the... So it's just...
It's an architectural problem.
It was a kind of nightmare. Every time, oh, not the lentils again. The soup's getting cold, the bloody roast beef's, oh, every time.
And all the doors banged into each other when you opened them two at once in the wrong way.
I think it was deliberate, because he said, I can't say why he did it like that, but because it was done very badly with some of the ladies, but I think wasn't to annoy my mother, but she wasn't that keen on it. She hated the house. The day he died, she left, moved into a flat, almost about 2 days later. Couldn't get out quick enough. So it was absolutely just living in this dreadful suburban place with a lawnmower in the loft, lentils falling out of the cupboard. No. Neighbours, ooh.
Coal bunkers?
Coal bunker. Oh yeah. That's a book. The coal bunker's a book. Anyone want to ask me anything? Did you read the book?
I've heard it before, but yes, I've read it, yes.
Yeah. Do you think that your life has been a normal life?
It's been scarred. What's that?
Scarred, yeah. Scarred is the word I was looking for, yeah.
I don't know about normal. I don't know.
Well, I hope if anyone buys a book, I hope you enjoy reading it, and I hope you'll wait for the next one. I can't find the title of the next one yet. Oh, I just wanted to say one last thing about art. This is the great artist Bernard Tschumu's signature of 1983. And the reason it's here, I think maybe a story about this. I was in Japan and I went into a hotel, and Bernard Tschumi was a kind of French pop artist making boots paintings, very big, bigger than Andy Warhol. And I went to this hotel foyer, and there was a painting on the wall, right down one wall. It was the biggest painting I've ever seen. I'll tell you how big it was. The upstroke of the bee was, could you see that?
Yeah.
If you walk over this. This is the upstroke of the bee. Yeah. It was 3 meters 20. That's the upstroke of the bee. So you can imagine how big the painting was. And it was pretty vacuous. But that also relates to a story about Sir Douglas Percy Bliss, who was the principal of the Glasgow School of Art, who was responsible for me leaving. He had my sculpture burnt when I was in the second year. But he had painted a picture. Now, I've never gotten this picture. An absolute bastard, this man. He painted a picture which is about the size of that screen, there. And the picture was called My Grandmother Knocking the Slugs Off the Cabbages with a Small Stick. And if you can imagine that the grandmother was that size, and you could see the stick and the slug, you can imagine what kind of painting it was. Thank you very much. What? Can I go home now? Yeah, you can go home.
Do you want to make this a sort of straight lecture, Bruce? Do you want to have any questions or not?
Sorry?
Do you want to have any questions?
No.
No? All right.
Certainly not. Not
Do you want them to ask you any questions? You
No.
to ask them any?
Not at all.
All right. Thank you very much, Bruce.
Thank
That's
you.
very nice
Thank
of
you very lovely.
And can I present you with the diploma you never actually got?
Yeah, but this, you have to understand this.
What?
We got on very well together because this man has never built anything, ever. In fact, he wants to pull everything down, and I agree with him. He has got 2 gold medals for not having built anything, which is absolutely fantastic. He's the original invisible architect.
I'm invisible, yeah, I'm glad to be invisible, yeah. But there's something, if I could just indulge myself a minute. You're a conceptual artist, aren't you? Yeah, to take that as, I was called a conceptual architect. It was meant as an insult, but I took it as a compliment. Do you take being a conceptual artist as a compliment or an insult?
I don't think it means
anything. You don't give a shit either way.
I don't think it means anything, no, I don't give a shit either way, no.
No, all right, okay. Thank you. The bar will be coming. It's
There's a bar here, there's drinks.
It's a little bit slow.
It is a bit
A
slow.
healthy
the bar.
safety problem with the bar coming down the stairs.
The drinks will be.